A bark from the other side. Posted by u/David 1988. When I moved in with my partner, we lived with my mother-in-law. She had a small dog who instantly took a liking to me. So much so that when we eventually moved to our own place, the dog came with us. She was literally my shadow. When I would come home from work, she would release the mightiest screech and barks as if she hadn't seen me in years. It was a very distinct sound, as if she was being skinned alive almost. She would always do this too when I was in the bathroom or somewhere with the door closed. She just needed to be by my side constantly. Anywho, she was in very poor health for a while with rotting teeth and horrible fatty lumps all over her body. My partner went away for the weekend with his mom to visit family. I woke up one morning to find blood splatters around the house. My dog was dying. She had tumors in her lungs which was leading to full organ failure. So, I had to call the vet and have her put to sleep. I was a complete mess. Fast forward 5 to 6 months later and I'm in my bathroom doing my thing and the house is dead silent. As I'm sitting there, door to my front left, I hear a sound. The sharp screech/bark/yelling sound only one animal in my entire life has made right on the other side of the door. I froze and thought I had imagined it. It lasted long enough for it not to be my imagination and clear as day. I like to think she's still around, sitting on my lap or following me around the house keeping me in check. She was a good dog. Voices from nowhere, moving objects, thing turning on by themselves, my old house. Posted by u/Glasses McDorkface. I've been told I should make a big post of all my paranormal experiences from the house I used to live in. In the 9 or 10 years I lived there, so much stuff happened. I thought I'd share the most memorable. First, the voice. I was a kid, probably 7 or 8. I was sick, so I decided to sleep with my mom in our guest room on the pull-out bed. To get to our guest room, you had to walk through our bonus room. We had the door open to the bonus room that night, since the room would get stuffy. So that night, my mom and I were in our beds, trying to sleep. I remember it was pretty late and my dad was fast asleep, and all the TVs and stuff were turned off. Anyway, I was just drifting off to sleep when I heard the unmistakable voice of a little girl. It was super clear, it sounded like it came right from the doorway. I was turned away from the doorway so I didn't see anything. I remember I tried to convince myself it was my imagination, even though the voice was clear as day. The voice said, "Mama?" And then, my mom asked me, "Glasses McDorkface, did you just say, Mama?" And then I said no and basically noped out and refused to turn to face the door. It couldn't have been someone outside because we lived in the hills and the sound would have echoed. Plus, all the windows were closed and we were on the 2nd floor. Also, I'm an only child. Next, moving toys. There were several occasions that I'd find my toys in random places. Like, I'd come home and a stuffed animal that was at the bottom of a box would be neatly set down in the middle of my room on the floor. This time I'm talking about specifically happened when I was about 6. There was a night, like many others, where I couldn't sleep, childhood insomnia 5. I walked out of my room and down the hall to the top of the stairs and called down to my mom, who was watching TV downstairs with my dad. I went downstairs for like 2 minutes to ask if she could come up and lie down with me. I went back upstairs and a toy I hadn't seen in years was in the middle of the hallway. Like, carefully placed down. And this happened while I was gone for only a few minutes. Next, the talking crystal ball toy. I had this Alice in Wonderland plastic crystal ball toy that would talk when you pressed a button. You were supposed to ask it a yes or no question, and it would answer with stuff like, duh, and absolutely and no, in Alice's voice. Stuff like that. So one night, probably around the age of 10 or 11, I was trying to sleep and the toy turned on. It sounded like the battery was low or something since the voice was now super low and really slow, almost demonic sounding. So I got up and made sure it was turned off, which it was. Then, the second I lie down again, it lights up and says something. So now I'm like, okay, what? And it keeps lighting up and saying stuff. So I took the damn batteries out and it was just making weird noises. And then I said fuck this and threw it out in the trash outside. Luckily it didn't somehow get back into my room like in the movies, Lamau. Now, the moving tissue box. This happened when I was 14 or 15. I was getting ready for bed one night and was getting ready to put my eye drops in, as I did every night. I had the tissue box next to me on the nightstand. Anyway, I put the drops in, which takes about 5 to 10 seconds. Then I reach for a tissue, but my hand just hits the table. I wiped my eyes with my hands, thinking I had just knocked it on the floor. It wasn't on the floor. I was thinking, okay, how the fuck does a tissue box just disappear? It was right next to me. And then I scan my bedroom and it's on the other side of my bedroom. on top of my dresser. At this point, I had been used to shit happening all the time, and at this point, we had sold our house and were moving in a few weeks. So I laughed, and said out loud, "Very funny." Then there was a time a heavy object slid and fell off the table. It was family game night and I was probably 7. We were playing a board game in our bonus room when it happened. I don't know why, but I turned around and faced the windows, where we had a table with a bunch of stuff on it. One thing was an art project I made in kindergarten, which was pretty heavy and unlikely to tip over. So I turned around, and the second I did, the art project slid off the table and landed on the carpet with such force that it literally bounced when it hit the floor. My parents saw it too. I guess they turned around to see what I was looking at, and we just stared at it like okay what? And then I started freaking out and my parents tried to convince me it was just the wind, even though the windows were only cracked and there was no breeze outside. Pretty sure they both knew it wasn't the wind for a fact. Then, small things like appliances turning on by themselves. There were a few times that our ceiling fans would turn on by themselves to the highest speed, or our lights would turn off and on. Also, there were so many times that I was home alone and would hear footsteps upstairs, and a couple times I even felt someone touch my back. When we finally sold that house, there was a day my friend was over. Her mom is a medium or something and she said that she always sensed the spirit of a young girl, 4 or 5 years old, but didn't tell us because she didn't want to freak us out. Honestly, it makes sense, with the toys and voice. Seemed like she was just trying to play with us. Poor girl. I wonder what happened. Anyway, those are the most memorable experiences in that house that I had. Edit, words and stuff. The knocking at my window. Posted by you/Lieutenant Levon. Alright, I'm 16, male, and this happened up in Canada, about summer. I was about 11 or 12 when this all started. It all started really small. A few knocks on the window over the course of a month. It always occurred at night, and always when I was alone. My stupid mistake was leaving my curtains undrawn. I remember the last day of that month was the most terrifying thing that has ever happened to me. That night, the knocking was the worst I'd ever experienced. It was about 11, and I started hearing it. Tap tap tap. It started out very lightly, as usual. Always consistent in pace and timing. It seemed intentional. Tap tap knock knock knock. D started getting harder and more intentional over the course of 3 hours, finally and abruptly cutting off at 1 a.m. Let me describe my situation. My bedroom had a window on the north wall, almost covering the whole wall. My bed was perpendicular to the north wall, against the west wall. This entire time, I was facing the west wall, with the window slightly up and behind me. The window's curtains were not drawn. The moon cast shadows against the wall I was staring at. You know what I saw? Nothing. Not a single damn thing near my window. Yet it knocked, for 3 whole hours. What I felt was weirder. This strange compulsion to give in, to relieve my curiosity by looking back to the window. It only grew stronger as time progressed. It felt like I would be calmed by whatever was calling to me on the other side of that window. I resisted until morning came. Until I felt sunshine on my back. I looked when the sun came up, nothing. Here's the weird part. I have no trees in my front yard, I'm on the 2nd story of my house, the wind often blows opposite of my window, and birds do not come at night, in near silent nights on a main road. I hear it now and again occasionally. I keep my blinds closed now, and never look. It's never as bad as that one night. Has anyone ever had this happen to them? Anyone know what it means? Please help out. Thank you. A cemetery in the woods next to a preschool. Posted by you/Highcup. I've always been interested in the paranormal from a young age and was super into looking up things near me that were haunted. I found an old website as a kid that I, to this day, visit on occasion as it has a massive listing of every city in every US state and different encounters in the areas around them. These encounters are usually pretty low-key but it's fun to read up on. Anyways, I remember reading about a small, roughly 10-stone graveyard in the woods about 2 miles from my house. I even looked it up years ago when I heard about it on Google Maps and actually saw a very small opening in the woods where it was mentioned. I had always wanted to go there and see if it was truly there. I was just a bit too scared of going because it was said to have stones from the 1800s, along with whispers and energies inside. However, one day a friend and I decided to take the chance and go searching. We went out to the woods that was in question and looked around for any proper ways in. To the left of the woods was a preschool with the title of something like Little Angels, something. We never thought anything of it but tried to see if the parking lot had any giveaway into the woods. We found a slight dirt path right off the lot and went up into the woods but ran into a gate blocking us from going further. The gate seemed as though there was nothing deeper beyond it, just more woods, so we quit fairly easily as we were being bit up by bugs. Well, fast forward a year and a few more friends and I decided to go back and check it out again. This time the gate was open. We go beyond it and actually find the cemetery. Surprisingly enough, it had a sign at the start of it that looked fairly updated. Yet, like the posting said, there was only about 10 to 15 stones in it. The stones were really old, some you could barely even read what was on them anymore. It was kind of crazy to see such an old cemetery that was used at some time. We never encountered anything, but it was an interesting sight. I think the thing that stood out to me the most though, was something I didn't notice until later. The Little Angels preschool that was built right next to this early 1800s cemetery had their phone number in huge numbers on the front of the building. The last 3 digits of their number is 666, found that really creepy, haha. Although it's probably nothing too interesting as we didn't have anything paranormal happen to us, I still felt like it was a crazy coincidence of the placement of everything. Thanks for reading.
Thanks for watching. Please do like, share, comment and subscribe for more videos.